Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chapter 10 of our Organizational Change and Innovation. Now, in this chapter, we will be considering the nature of change in organizations, including the two types of change, reactive and proactive, as well as the forces for change originating outside and inside an organization. Next in the chapter, we will explore the threat of change and how you can manage employee fear and resistance, which always comes with change. We can describe four areas in which change is often needed. Those four areas are people, technology, structure, and strategy. Then we will discuss organizational development, which is a set of techniques for implementing planned change. Lastly, in the chapter, we will discuss how to promote innovation within your organization. The chapter will be broken up into four major components. The first one is over the nature of change in organizations. After reading this, you should be able to answer the question, since change is always with us, what should I understand about it? The next part of the chapter is over the threat of change, managing employees' fear and resistance. After reading this part of the chapter and discussion, you should be able to answer the question, how are employees threatened by change, and how can I, as a manager, help them adjust? The next part of the chapter is organizational development, what it is and what it can do for you in an organization. After this, you should be able to answer this question, what are the issues of organizational development and how effective is it? Lastly, we'll be covering the last part of the chapter, promoting innovation within the organization. Finally, after reading this, you should be able to answer this major question, what do I need to know to encourage innovation? Let's go ahead and take a look at the first part of our chapter. People are generally uncomfortable about change in both small and large matters. If small change causes uneasiness, then large changes can sometimes cause considerable stress, but they are often necessary for a company's survival. Now in the text we read about Jim Collins, who's a researcher that found that there are 5 stages of institutional decline, largely self-inflicted. Stage 1, hubris born of success, is where a company develops arrogance, also known as hubris, and its employees begin attributing the company's success to their own superior qualities, forgetting about the underlying factors that created that success. Stage 2, undisciplined pursuit of more. So companies begin overreacting, making undisciplined leaps into areas where they cannot be great, leading them to ignore their core business. Stage 3 is denial of risk and peril. This is where internal warning signs begin to increase, but managers explain them away and put a positive spin on ambiguous data. Stage 4, grasping for salvation. So the difficulty of stage 3 we just talked about reach the point of throwing the company into sharp decline, at which point managers begin making desperate leaps such as trying bold but untested strategies. Lastly, stage 5, capitalization to irrelevance or death. The longer an organization stayed in stage 4, the more apt it is to slip downward into stage 5 here, at which point the company may either be sold, may be allowed to go bankrupt, or it's left to shrivel into insignificance. It is possible to identify and prepare for the future that has already happened by looking at some of the fundamental changes that are happening currently. Beyond trends such as declining population in developing countries, more diversity, so on and so forth, there are some super trends shaping the future of business. First one is, a marketplace is becoming more segmented and moving towards more niche products. We have demassification, with consumer groups becoming segmented into smaller and more specialized groups that respond to more narrowly targeted commercial messages. The next one is, more competitors are offering targeted products requiring faster speed to market. Companies are experiencing intense pressure from competitors offering specialized solutions and beating them to the punch by devising novel speed to market strategies. The next one is, some traditional companies may not survive radically innovative change. Sometimes it is difficult for an existing successful company to take full advantage of a technological breakthrough. Instead, the company should set up an entirely separate organization that can operate much like a startup company. Our next one is, China, India, and other offshore suppliers are changing the way we work here in the U.S. Now, globalization and outsourcing are transforming whole industries and changing the way we work. Other countries offer workers and even professionals who are willing to work twice as hard for half the pay, giving American businesses substantial labor savings. While some American jobs are lost, others become more productive, like engineers and salespeople who are liberated from routine tasks so they can spend more time innovating and dealing with customers. Lastly, we look at knowledge, not information, as becoming the new competitive advantage. As information technology does more of the work formerly done by humans, many lower level employees previously thought of as knowledge workers are now being recognized as data workers who contribute very little added value to the process of information. Unlike routine information handling, knowledge work is analytic and involves problem solving as well as abstract reasoning. Now, when it comes to change in general, there are two types of change. We have reactive change, which is making changes in response to problems or opportunities as they arrive. And proactive change, or managing anticipated problems and opportunities, is a planned change, which involves making carefully thought out changes in participation or in anticipation of possible or expected problems or opportunities. Once again, this is also called planned change. Now, managers can get clues as to when change is needed by monitoring the forces of change, or forces for change, both outside and inside the organization. Let's take a look at this chart here, this figure 10.1, where you can see we have outside forces on one side and inside forces on the other. And if we see those, we can see that there is a need for change as depicted by the green box at the bottom here. Now, external forces consist of 6 types. Demographic characteristics such as those occurring in the U.S. workforce, with the workforce becoming more diverse. Next we see we have market changes. The global economy has forced U.S. companies to change the way we do business. An example is beer makers are seeing declining sales as consumers shift to wine and other liquors. Next we see we have technological advancements as a category here. While technology may be one of the greatest forces for productivity, it can also create problems. An example of this is where technology has made it easy for all kinds of illegal copycats to pirate versions of movies as they go to a DVD release. Shareholders and consumer demands here. You can see that shareholders have begun to be more active in pressuring for organizational change. Customers are also more demanding and more inclined to take their business elsewhere if they do not get what they want. Another external force is supplier practices. The actions of a company's suppliers can create the need for change. An example is an audit of Apple suppliers in China created pressure for Apple to either change suppliers or force suppliers to alter their human resource practices. Next we have the social and political pressures. Social events can create great pressures. An example of the health-related problems related to obesity have prompted organizations to find ways of helping employees adopt more healthy lifestyles. With that information in hand, let's take a look at a question now. Tony, the owner of Siroti Pasta restaurant on Cape Cod, is open during the high season from May until October. He has always hired college students on summer vacation. In recent years, the number of workers who quit mid-summer has risen significantly. When he asks, they say they are quitting because they have enough money or want the time off. This is probably an example of what type of change? Hopefully you picked B. This is a social change, or social or political change, as the answer suggests. You got that? Great. Let's go ahead and move on to the next part here. We'll take a look at the internal forces affecting organizations, and they may be of 2 types: employee problems and managers' behaviors. With employee problems, job dissatisfaction can be a major signal for change. Organizations may respond by addressing job design, reducing employee role conflicts, and dealing with work overload. I'm sure no one's ever experienced work overload. As far as managers' behavior, the other type of an internal force, is excessive conflict between managers and employees may be another indicator that change is needed. Employees may be transferred, or some interpersonal training may be required within the organization. Here are some areas in which change is often needed: people, technology, structure, and strategy. Let's go ahead and take a look at people first. Perceptions in changing people perceptions. If employees feel they are underpaid, managers need to show that the pay and the benefits are comparable to its competitors. You have attitudes. Employees may feel that managers don't listen to them. Using educational techniques, managers can try to change the culture and the attitudes of its employees in the organization. Another area is performance. Finding incentives to improve people's performance is a major challenge. And skills. Altering or improving skill levels is an ongoing challenge. We're going to take a look at changing technology now. Technology is a major area of change for many organizations today. Technology is not just the computer technology, it is any machine or process that enables an organization to gain a competitive advantage in changing materials used to produce a finished product. The last two we talked about was changing structure. Now, the organization structure often changes when one organization acquires another. The recent trend is towards flattening the hierarchy, or eliminating several middle layers of management. And lastly, we talked about changing strategy. This is shifts in the marketplace often force organizations to change their overall strategy. What initially worked may not work, and now there's time to change our strategy and how we pursue in our organization.